Well, a Colorado doctor admits that she has steered anorexia patients toward assisted suicide. In an interview with the Colorado Sun, internal medicine specialist Dr. Jennifer Gaudiani said that her patients 100% understood the implications of their decisions. She went on to say that mental illness does not mean that somebody deserves to lose their rights or to be infantilized or looked down upon. Well, joining us tonight to weigh in on this story and much more is Alex Shadenberg, Executive Director of the Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. Alex, great to have you with us. This story is really so shocking. This doctor in question says that she only steered a few very ill patients toward euthanasia. Alex, your reaction?
Well, you have this situation where they're trying to expand assisted suicide in the U.S. by redefining what a terminal illness is, but they're doing a lot to change laws. And one of these things, of course, is this doctor in particular and a few others have redefined certain chronic illnesses as being terminal illnesses. So we know also in the state of Oregon that there was at least one assisted suicide of somebody with anorexia. Now, we don't know how many because the report lists the conditions that people had when they were approved for assisted suicide. So it lists that as a condition. So I don't know how many. I do know that at least one in Oregon. And of course, we know of these other cases from this doctor in Colorado. But the big push is that from the assisted suicide lobbies to expand assisted suicide by reinterpreting it.
Yeah, and anorexia, it's an eating disorder, and is most often diagnosed when people are in their teens and they're young adults. And oftentimes it starts out with somebody maybe wanting to lose a few pounds, and then it spirals. And that said, with treatment, many people do recover from this. I know this firsthand. And while it is a mental illness, it's not a permanent condition, Alex. So this doctor wants to give a so-called permanent solution to a temporary problem in many cases. What do you have to say about this?
Well, what we're seeing is that these chronic conditions, and that's what they are, chronic conditions, and they're treatable conditions, are being redefined in order to expand assisted suicide. When they're trying to expand assisted suicide in many ways in the U.S. So right now there's a bill in Washington State and one in Hawaii to eliminate the waiting periods. And also they want to expand who can do assisted suicide. They're also wanting to change how people receive the drugs. So they're trying to allow it to be sent to people in the mail. They're trying to, all these different expansions. Right now in Oregon and in Vermont, they're removing the residency requirement. So therefore, people outside of those states could die by assisted suicide in those states. And there's already been set up in Oregon an assisted suicide clinic, which is killing people from outside of Oregon. So they've started that first national assisted suicide clinic in Oregon now.
I want to go overseas now and talk about a story happening out of Belgium, where a woman who killed her 5 children back in 2007, she died by euthanasia last month. The BBC reports that she was granted her wish to die because of her psychological suffering. Alex, can you make sense of this for us?
Well, these are very sad stories. So here you have a woman who killed her 5 children in 2007. She was convicted. She was found capable of standing trial. She was convicted for life. And now she's died by euthanasia. This really does change a lot of things, too, because they're doing this euthanasia killing based on psychological suffering, not physical suffering. This woman claimed that she had extreme psychological suffering. Nonetheless, in her case, she is a prisoner. She's in jail, and she's supposed to be serving life for killing her 5 children. Instead, she dies by euthanasia. It really creates a lot of confusion now around this whole concept in a nation like Belgium, which doesn't allow capital punishment, for instance, as to what is acceptable and unacceptable to kill people.
Yeah, it's also concerning, all of it. I want to head to your country, Canada, right now. Yeah. We have about a minute left or so.
Yes.
But talk to us about what you're seeing happening there.
Well, we've had this whole debate around euthanasia for mental illness in Canada also. So in 2021, the bill was Bill C7 that expanded euthanasia in our country, and it then included euthanasia for mental illness. But they put a moratorium on it to develop the rules around killing. And now they've delayed it. They're going to delay it again until March of 2024. I believe it's always wrong to kill people. But nonetheless, this whole concept of euthanasia for mental illness really turns over this concept of consent. Now we've had a parliamentary committee just come out in February saying we should allow euthanasia for mature minors, so for children. And at the same time, the Quebec College of Physicians presented to that committee, and they said that they believe we should expand that not only to mature minors, but to newborns, so that we'd have euthanasia of newborns, in other words, infanticide. So the whole thing has gone really crazy because, we start with euthanasia based on one's capability of consenting. So we'll kill someone who's capable of consenting, and they say, well, you have to be terminally ill. Now you don't have to be terminally ill, and you don't have to consent.
You can't wrap your mind around this. Before we wrap this up, Alex, I'm curious,
Yeah.
What do you think is really behind this push for euthanasia? I mean, do you think money is at the root of this?
Well, some of it's money. Certainly, they're saving hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in Canada in our healthcare system because we have a universal healthcare system. A lot of this, though, is philosophically based. People have rejected this concept that it's that it's always wrong to kill. So now they're saying it's okay to kill. In fact, they're saying it's preferable to kill. We have now situations where doctors are not waiting for a request for euthanasia. Now they're actually promoting euthanasia. So doctors are going to the bedside and saying, I think you qualify for MAID. Do you want MAID? MAID, of course, is the word they came up with to make you feel better about killing people. The whole thing has flipped everything upside down. We have this whole concept of killing, which has made everything totally bizarre, actually. And I would say you can't make these stories up. Too bad this is happening. I'm very sad. Nonetheless, this is the reality.
Yeah, you can't make it up, Alex. And thank you for coming on and weighing in on this and being on top of this. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.